My name is Bridget Ferris, and I am going to be discussing Shakespeare's tragedy, Othello. The play Othello starts off with two characters in the streets of Venice in Italy, otherwise known as the Land of Love and Water. The story later transitions to the island of Cyprus, which was an island colonized by the Venetians in this time period. This tragedy, like most Shakespearean tragedies, was written in the latter part of the 16th century. It was written during the wars that took place in the 16th century between Venice and Turkey. This time period is commonly known as Shakespeare's Great Tragic Period. This period also brought us Hamlet, King Lear, Macbeth, and Antony and Cleopatra, some of his greatest works, all tragedies of the 16th century. A tragedy is commonly defined as a drama with conflicts that lead to suffering and death. This particular tragedy delves very deep into the vices of jealousy, suspicion, and bitterness. These three attributes lead down a path of destruction, including the loss of love and even lives. Othello includes a complex string of love and interests. The first is not so much a love triangle as it is a three-point love line. The first point is Roderigo. He is in love with Desdemona. She is the second point, which leads to the third point, her love interest Othello, who loves her in return. To recap, Roderigo loves Desdemona, who loves Othello, who loves her back. The last love interests mentioned in this story are Iago and his wife, Emilia. Shakespeare does not give much insight on this couple. The trouble or conflict begins when Othello, a general in the Venetian army during the war, denies Iago, a soldier in the Venetian army, a promotion. Instead, Othello gives the promotion to another soldier named Cassio, who Iago believes is less than deserving of this position. Iago is so bitter with jealousy, he makes it his personal mission to destroy both Othello and Cassio. Iago attempts to do this by playing Cassio and Othello against each other. The clever and deceitful Iago uses Cassio to get between Othello and his new bride Desdemona. Death is a common occurrence in not just Shakespeare, but all tragedies. It is simply what makes a drama a tragedy. Othello is no exception to this rule. Because of the doubt and suspicion in his mind, Othello murders his wife Desdemona for being unfaithful to him, even though this is not true. Because she accidentally tells Othello something Iago did not want him to know, Iago murders his own wife Emilia. Because he fails to kill Cassio, he only wounds him, Iago murders his friend and business partner Roderigo for not complying with his plan. As you can see in these three examples, death is very prominent in this story, making it a true Shakespearean tragedy. The story begins in Venice, Italy, as I said before, also referred to as the Land of Love. This is a very appropriate and symbolic location, considering love is in the air, so to speak, in the beginning. Othello and Desdemona marry happily, having received a blessing to be together finally, and during this time Roderigo is innocently crushing on Desdemona. All is seemingly romantic, very fitting for the Land of Love. We then transition to the island of Cyprus. The island of Cyprus is where the battle is to be fought, although not the battle that the reader expects between Turkey and Venice. That battle never actually happens. Iago creates his own mental battle. He declares war on those he believes wronged him. His wife and friend quite literally become casualties of this symbolic war. Moving the story to Cyprus sets up for this battle that is getting ready to take place. Iago is seeking to ruin Othello by turning him against his wife and friend. In doing this, he turns himself against his own wife and his own friend. In trying to take away Desdemona, Othello's wife, and Cassio, Othello's friend, he murders Emilia, his own wife, and Roderigo, his own friend and business partner. Through this irony, Shakespeare shows us, his reader, that revenge is dangerous. In most cases, both parties lose. When jealousy turns into bitterness and hatred, you can end up hurting yourself the same way you tried to hurt your victim. Shakespeare strategically writes the main character Othello in as a Moor, otherwise known as an African American, which was very controversial in this time period. He addressed the issue of racial inequality without actually addressing it in the story. Race does not play much of a role in the story, although it was a problem in this time period. The story has been popularly used throughout the years as a way to promote racial equality. This is one of the reasons it has grown so much and traveled throughout the years. In conclusion, Othello was a typical tragedy. It stays in the lines of drama laced with death. An overall theme or important lesson to take away is that revenge can be dangerous and bring equal harm to all parties involved. Othello contains content for anyone to enjoy. It captures the drama and romance and the excitement and action of betrayal and deceit. It touches on the importance of racial inequality, and because of these traits, it is still seen in our literature and media today. All Night Long is a 60s film, and Catch My Soul is a 70s film. Both of these movies are based loosely on Shakespeare's Othello. These are only two small examples of how Othello has shaped our media today.